and shout! B-U-C-C-A-N-P-E-R-S, go Bucks! B-U-C-C-A-N-P-E-R-S, go Bucks! B-U-C-C-A-N-P-E-R-S.
Go Bucks.
Welcome, Pewtercast listeners, to Entry 8 of Training Camp Journal with Ren, the Stick Carrier Edition. Brent Allen is with me here today again, and we're at Ferg's Live. We just had some lunch with Derek Fournier of What the Buck and had a good conversation with him and some of his friends and fellow Buccaneer fans.
Yeah, shout out to the two Richards and one of the Richards' sons and Princess Nasty.
Princess
Nasty was with us.
Yeah.
She was cool.
Yeah, she's if you ever see her, she's wearing one walking around in a hard hat with a rhino horn on it, but it's the pink version.
It's Big Nasty's daughter, right?
I don't think so.
No? Oh, okay.
No. Big Nasty's local. Isn't she?
No.
No? Wasn't she flying in from somewhere?
No, she was local.
Okay.
I think that's who she was. I might not be.
Could be. I mean, they have the same helmet.
Yeah.
But,
She was born with it.
And cut all this out.
No. We don't edit this show.
So the stick carrier showed up in force today.
Yeah.
Not only carry the fandom, but they really carry the energy.
They did it.
Throughout the practice.
They did it.
They showed up, and, as promised. And easily, the most energetic and probably most fun training camp I've ever been to. Not alone this year, but everyone. I know you only have one more to compare it to, but
right.
For me, this is probably 10-11 for me, and they made it a lot of fun. It started out early. The parking lot actually opened early instead of 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
When I got there about 7:15, 7:20, the parking lot was already open, and there's probably 50, 60 cars.
Mm-hmm.
They were in line, and they were already starting their chants and their cheers, and they really... Once again, I know I'm sort of reiterating this, but the chants throughout the whole entire practice and got everyone involved.
Everything they said they were going to do, everything that they said that they were going to do, they did.
They did.
They stood the entire time. They were chanting the entire time. They were loud the entire time. And when I say the entire time, I mean the entire time.
Agreed. Yeah, they really brought it. So hats off to them. And like I said, it was probably the funnest, most funnerest training camp I've ever been to. So that's a good sort of...
I mean, we camped out on that. So you pull up to the parking lot, and I got there, I guess after everybody was... I got there a few minutes after they'd opened the gates, and people were already in line.
Right.
And from the parking lot, I could hear the chants that they were already saying.
Mm-hmm.
Spoke a little bit later, actually, we got to sit with some people who were inside the building, and they told us they could hear them from inside the building. And, not only were they pumping up the energy for the fans, the players were feeding off this energy.
Oh, for
the
sure.
coaches were feeding off this energy. The front office staff was feeding off this energy. The Buccaneers have, like, the little hype guys that run up and down the aisle waving the flags, trying to get people doing the Tampa Bay cheer. Those guys just look silly today.
Yeah.
They really I mean, compared
There's
to what was happening.
There's no need for you today, guys.
Right. Like, we're good.
Take
we got
the day
you.
off.
Right. Stick carriers are out in force. And, man, I don't want to dwell on this too long, but I do have to say, if that's what a stick carrier is,
right,
then you can sign me up to become a full-fledged member of the stick carriers.
I hear you.
I will put my name to that. I will back that up. I have long time said, I don't care what you call yourself, if you're a stick carrier, a buck, whatever, I can be your friend. We're all Bucks fans.
Right.
But I've never personally identified as that. With what I saw from the stick carriers today, if that's what that is, if that's what they're going to bring to Raymond James Stadium, because here's what happened. Out in the line, okay, let's take everybody back before practice even starts.
Okay.
We're out in the line, and we had a special line because, we got those season tickets yesterday we talked about, right?
Mm-hmm,
and so we got to stand over in the special, like, season ticket holder line, right?
Yes.
Which was really long at the
was.
time. And you could hear the chants going on in that line as well as the general admission line. And at some point, a few minutes before they open up the gates, here comes Pulowski, the commish,
right,
leader of the stick carrier movement, got his bullhorn kind of going up and down the line.
Addressing the troops.
And we've got audio of this. I'm not going to play it here, but maybe we will sometime. But basically, he comes out, and he's like, "Are you guys ready?" And he says, "So here are the rules. There's no cussing at this camp. If you cuss, I will take you out of here." Because, this is a family organization, right?
Yeah, there's kids in the stand.
And then he says, "And we're going to respect each other. And we're all Bucks fans here."
Right.
And that was when I know Justin has been saying this, but there's a difference between saying it and making it a reality. And today they made it a reality.
Agreed.
And that's what they did. And then he said, and we're going to cheer so freaking loud that in practice, our own team is going to have to go to the silent count.
Right.
And, and I sat there and went, I can get behind that.
Right.
I can, to be that kind of raucousness, to take that into Ray J and give our players a home field advantage, I'm in. I love it.
Yeah, and I think everybody who was there, and from, I guess, the rules you should say that he gave, there was not one problem that I saw. I know there was a little bit. I even saw some stick carriers on Twitter just this morning were saying, like, I hope some people don't embarrass us.
I didn't see that.
It was just, it was just one I saw.
Right.
But there is that feeling out there where there's very intense stick carrier fans.
Sure.
Where if you said something that was sort of against the diatribe that they were going, they would sort of jump on you. And Justin went on the podcast a couple days ago. And sort of put an end to that.
Kudos to him for doing that.
Kudos
for him for doing that.
Exactly. Yeah. So he put a stop to it, and then again today. He reiterated it, and there was zero of that. It was a great time.
Yeah.
Even like the Bucs staff were chanting because they were doing chants as soon as they got in there.
Yeah.
Like they all grouped together.
So we get in. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Right. We get in, and all of a sudden the Bucs field staff is there. Right.
Correct.
The guys in the red the red polo shirts and the khaki shorts. These guys were in awe.
Yeah.
Of the stick carrot, like they were just
smiles.
sitting there. They were all they were dumbfounded,
breaking out phones.
They were going. They're looking at each other, just going, "What in the world? This
wasn't like yesterday."
No, like they're looking at this thing not like it's a car wreck. They're looking at this thing like it's a newborn baby or something. I mean, they were so giggled,
like they're peeking out the window of the space shuttle.
Yeah, I mean, it was so fun. I mean. They had no clue what was. I don't want to say they. I don't want to speak for them. They didn't know what was coming, though.
Right.
Or maybe they had some hints, but they didn't really know.
Yeah.
And these guys were just.
I don't think
cool
anybody did.
No, they didn't. And one of the fun things. I'm sorry if I'm jumping on to you.
No.
So the players start coming out on the field.
Right.
Right. First ones out were Cam Bray and no, Alan Cross and Luke Stalker.
Correct.
And in fact, it was Luke Stalker first. And then Alan Cross.
Mm-hmm.
And the crowd starts chanting Alan Cross.
Because you couldn't really read Stalker's number. He had all
we didn't know who he was.
Right. You couldn't really tell you.
Right. And they start going, Alan Cross, Alan Cross, Alan Cross. And finally Alan, hears it and, gives him, a big fist raise. And everybody's like, yeah! And, Luke Stalker's kind of sitting there going around what the hell, man?
Man. I've been here, for years.
Right. And finally they figured out who he was.
Right.
And it's Luke Stalker. They finally got it. But as the players were kind of trickling out, as we saw who they were doing that for almost every player.
Right.
Now there was one point when the players kind of all came out at MASH. You can't do that for everybody at that point.
But before that,
yeah,
before the main group came out,
yeah,
Jameis came running out.
Now listen, if you guys have not seen the video of this, Greg Allman had a great kind of reverse angle on it, and he put out the video on Twitter. I'm sure there's other stick carriers that have video of this
out there.
We're probably going to see this on Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks was all over this crew.
Oh, yeah.
They wound up. It almost seemed like they dedicated a camera just to the stick carriers to have on them.
And they should have.
They did. It wasn't for the whole practice, but they brought them over.
Mm-hmm.
So looking forward to seeing this on Hard Knocks. Maybe episode 1, maybe episode 2. I'm not really sure. It depends on how their episodes line up with what we're seeing. But Jameis comes out and just everybody's just kind of coming out. They're giving the big fist raise, yeah, what? Jameis comes out and he's like, get up, he's hopping and jumping and he does one of these we just scored a touchdown jump fist pump and he lands.
And Martin Grammatica made an extra point.
Yeah, and he's doing flips and he winds up landing and what it looks like was he lands and he does this cartwheel. Right. Well, from Greg Allman's video, what you see is he actually missed his landing and fell.
What a shock.
But he turned it into a cartwheel, which was really cool. So, Jameis was super stoked to get out there. Swaggy came out. He was digging it. Vernon Hargraves was all about it. Of course, Vernon called into the stick carriers and did something several weeks ago.
Left a voice message.
Yeah. So, and then...
what about when Donovan Smith actually snuck over
Yeah.
He tried to tell him, they were chanting his name. He was sort of putting his finger up to his mouth like shh, and he was sneaking over to the mess fence where, right up next to the crowd. And I
think he went up to Pulowski. I think he went up to the commish and said, he got and then he walks back and suddenly the crowd starts chanting, George Warhop.
Yeah.
George Warhop.
He was getting his coach in there.
The coach, right.
It's
his offensive line coach. So that was a cool little nod from Donovan Smith. Who I've got a fun story about him at the end of practice, so remind me of that. But then, that was fun.
Then they start chanting, "We want Dirk."
Yeah,
we want Dirk.
Yeah.
And then Dirk, as soon as they started the chant, he was sort of coming like off of field 2 onto field 1.
Yeah,
and he made a beeline straight to the stick carriers.
Right, and the closer he got, the louder the stick carriers got.
Yeah,
and he could see it. He was all smiles.
Mm-hmm.
He was loving this thing. And Samer Ali, I apologize if I'm saying that name wrong. But he had, he's a graphic designer, and he made a photo several weeks ago of Dirk Cutter looking like the Godfather.
Right.
Yeah. And he actually made this big like canvas print of that and had it up.
They're waving around,
which was really cool. And
they actually gave it to him at the end of practice.
At the end of practice, they did. Yeah, and Dirk real graciously received it. He loved it. I thought he was tickled to death by it. I wonder if he's going to put it up in his office.
I would.
Would you put a picture of yourself as the Godfather up in your own office?
Yes.
There,
and I'd put it on a T-shirt, and I'd wear it every day.
But, Dirk comes over, and I don't know that any head coach, I don't want to say any, I just don't know, but certainly maybe not in the history of the Buccaneers, has had the celebrity that what Dirk experienced today. And I imagine that's something Dirk's not used to.
At least not a Tampa Bay coach.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Some of the heavy hitters like Belichick, or I'm sure Pete Carroll in Seattle that brought him a Super Bowl. I'm sure those guys are rock stars. But as far as a Tampa Bay head coach, having that sort of fan base.
But I don't see Belichick going up to the fans at
Patriots facility
at their training camp. Kind of going down the line, giving people fives, like what Cutter did. I don't see Belichick doing that. He might. I've never been there. But
once the season's over for like 2 days.
Yeah.
And then it's right back to next year.
Exactly. So, so Dirk experienced a little bit of celebrity. I guess Jason Light he came over
before practice.
So that this was the organization embracing fans.
Yes, they're embracing them
fans
back.
being fans.
Agreed.
And doing it in a great way. And I'll go back. You call it whatever. This just happened to be the stick carriers, but and they were energizing the crowd.
Oh yeah.
They certainly were. So very fun to see. The media, some of the media members, some of the other podcasters in town. We were all kind of over there trying to get video of it, and it was just very well done.
Everybody was over there.
Yeah, very, very well done. So, once again, kudos to that. It was really cool. And why don't we talk about practice now?
Yeah, sure. After that, I mean, we really had to start off with that because it was such a spectacle and it was so fun.
Well, and the whole point of the journal is to take the guys who are listening to this show and put you in the stands with us, and that was a solid hour before practice started of what was of an experience.
Yeah, gate opens at 8 and practice doesn't start to 8:45, and they didn't stop, and they didn't stop the whole practice.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe sometimes it'll take us 10 minutes to get into football, but we'll get there. The daily update on the indoor facility, I'm just going to go ahead and cap this off that the whole outside could probably be skinned or covered. I'd be surprised in a week. So
by next week.
So possibly before the first preseason game, they're going to have the whole thing covered. Obviously, the inside has a lot of work to do.
Yeah, but they say they're going to be in the facility by the start of season.
That's what they're saying.
What they keep saying.
That's what they're saying. So that's
they're apparently on track.
That's 5 weeks.
Yep.
So I always like to give that update. And then then they had. Thank you. Then they had. So many stick carriers showed up, and so many people showed up. It being the weekend, last weekend on Saturday, they sort of had to open up the end zone area for standing room only, and they had to do it again today.
Yeah.
But it was much of a longer line. The line actually ran all the way back behind Field 1, behind Field 2, and then they turned the people in between Field 2 and Field 3, and it probably went 3/4 the way down.
Yeah, so fun story about that.
Sure.
Was talking to at some point in practice, we actually got to sit next to the guys from Joe Buck's Fan.
Yeah, we did.
Steve Isbitz and Lita Camper.
Correct.
and was talking to Steve Itzbitz, and he was relaying the story of how when that was happening, that they actually had to call the fire marshal out.
Oh, yeah.
And the fire marshal had to come out and like measure off and make sure that like people could still get out if there was an emergency, even though we're outside. Like they still were putting them in this like roped bullpen.
Yeah,
so they had to make sure that
that pennant banner would have held the crowd back.
The crowd should there be an emergency, right? But yeah, they actually had to call the fire marshal out to come and do something.
Yeah, well, you know, it's an NFL organization, and they're insured out the gills. So if someone says they're not going to do something, they always have to cover themselves.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that's not surprising.
And the Bucs did a really great thing. You know, there's no shade over there, so they brought out and they started giving those guys some water.
Yeah, rolled out a whole cooler,
Yeah.
freestanding cooler of water. One that I was on wheels. There's probably 200-300 waters in there.
Yeah.
So I guess, you know, back to practice, sort of like the first things we saw at practice. Once again, Caleb Benenoch was out early, working on his footwork at left tackle. But also, it took us a second to see who it was, because once again, he has numbers tucked under. But J.R. Sweezy was out there early, working with Warhop one-on-one, which I thought was interesting. So he was getting in work in there. Let's see, what else do we have? The first drill of the day, something I always go with, they did a 3-man route, but all the quarterbacks threw to them.
Yeah.
So it was a receiver, tight end, and a running back would go out. It would be sort of like a seam route, a corner route to the end zone, and then a flat route. And then so Jameis would throw the corner route, and Griffith would throw like the flat route, and Fitzpatrick would throw, you know, the seam route. And so I always like I said, I always like to they always sort of set the tone for the practice, that first drill. So I always like to get that out there to let you guys know what they worked on first. And then
I will say this. I don't know that they changed their plans for what they were going to do in practice because of the fans that were going to be there today. I don't know that they did that. In fact, I'd be shocked if they did.
Well, they opened the parking lot early.
No. But I mean, like the plans for practice itself.
Gotcha.
Dirk Cutter's plan for how he wants this.
You want to make
2
it a
hours
special
to
practice
go.
or a more entertaining practice?
I would be surprised if that was what actually happened. But all of the drills that they did today seem to be some of the more fun drills to watch as a fan base.
That's a good point.
You know, in fact, the only one they didn't do was the kicks. We didn't see
no
any
field
up close.
goal.
Yeah, we didn't see any of that today.
Not on field one.
Right, which, you know, was a little sad to me because hashtag I'm with 19.
Got a picture with him today.
I hashtag I'm with 19 literally. So and I told him about it, and he seemed fairly appreciative. And
you told him about the hashtag I'm with 19 thing?
He was like, dude, I really appreciate that. That's awesome.
Got a prayer candle.
Yeah, there we go. Let's not send him that one. I don't. Is Roberto Catholic? I don't know. He might actually appreciate it. I don't know.
He's Latino. He's Catholic.
He could be. I don't want to. I don't know. I don't know.
It's like saying you know you're from Italy and you're not Catholic. It's a pretty safe bet.
Fairly, but who knows? I don't know.
Who knows? Okay, yes, we're not going to put labels on anybody.
Yeah,
He's Catholic.
I don't know. He could be. So maybe he does. But whatever. Yeah, I got a cool picture with him. But all the drills. My whole point in saying this, all of the drills they did today were fun to watch.
Yeah,
they were the good drills to watch.
Yeah, they did some. We're gonna go ahead and start with the defense. They did some one-on-one drills down by the far end, sort of like the entrance to the general admission side, and it was running backs and tight ends basically doing blitz pickups. And the only people that were blitzing were the linebackers. So there were some real good one-on-one battles there. And Dirk Cutter was watching. Like there were still, the quarterbacks were on the other end of field one, and they were doing drills as well. But Cutter was paying special attention to see who's gonna, who are these guys gonna be able to pick up the blitz.
Yeah. He's the head coach.
He's
not just the offensive coach.
There you go. Levante David, Quan Alexander, and Devontae Bond. They all looked real good. Thankfully, they were the starters. They made some guys look real silly. Austin Johnson was trying to make the team as a fullback. Good luck with that. But he had a real good rep against Kendall Beckwith. Stood him up. That got a couple of boos from the crowd. And then I talked about a few days ago how the kid from Germany, I called it the foreign the foreigner drill. The kid from Germany just ran over Auclair, and it happened again him today.
I did not see that.
Quan just
I must have been looking at
he was
something
off
else.
balance again and didn't get squatted in, and it was like he wasn't even there. Like he hit him once, and once again head over heels, and he's rolling backwards, and that was the biggest. Everyone in the crowd was like, ugh, like it was so bad you felt bad for the guy.
Oh,
it wasn't like
sweet.
good hit. It was like, oh god, that poor guy.
Okay, so let's talk about that for just a minute. I felt a little bipolar at today's practice, like
How so?
like a little manic, like because, and I don't know if bipolar is the right word. Every time there was a play that would happen, because it's our offense and our defense,
Right.
These are guys that I cheer for our offense, I cheer for our defense. So anytime like our defensive guy would do something like really great, I'd cheer. Yeah, that's awesome. And what the hell's wrong with our offensive guy? Like I was in this like mix between, or if the offensive guy would make a break and run down, and be like, what the hell's wrong with our defense? Yeah, go Doug Martin. Like I was both at the same time. So
and they're still not tackling to the ground, but I would say this was the
they were
hardest.
a little rougher today.
Yeah,
they were a little rougher today.
And that could be directly, equated to the energy in the stands.
Could be, absolutely. Absolutely. They were feeling it.
Yeah.
Because they'd be in between their drills, and the players would turn around, like, the players were going, wow, that's awesome. And they were trying to get the crowd a little more hyped, too.
A little more hyped, and they were still doing the roll calls. So like they signed up 11 on 11. Hargraves would be up the closest player.
Mm-hmm.
And so the stick carriers start, chanting, Vernon Hargraves.
Right.
And he'd turn around and pump them up. The crowd was recognized today way more. I mean, infinitely more than it has, like, any other training practice. Mike Evans will make a catch, and he's sort of close to the fans. You hear a couple people go, Mike, go Evans. And, he just keeps walking like nothing happened. But anytime someone's name got called out today, they made an effort to sort of, acknowledge the fans, which, once again, was really cool to see. Grimes and Evans still going at it. They're not feeding the ball to Evans, but, man, those guys, it's fun to watch those two guys go at it. Best of the best right there. Jameis, this is something that you brought up. I don't know if you're going to want to go into it about if it's a bad thing if Deshaun Jackson's too fast.
So there was a play where Jameis is going out and he's throwing to Deshaun,
and he's being blitzed.
It's a big long ball.
Yeah.
Okay. Big corner route kind of a thing. And,
9 route.
Yeah, something like that. And Deshaun's out there, and Jameis is getting blitzed. I don't know that it would have been a good decision for Jameis to throw to Deshaun at that point anyway.
Right.
But Jameis has some pressure. He gets set back on his heels.
Yeah,
threw it
off his heels.
Up,
yeah. It was a rainbow.
And it looked ugly. Yeah, it was. Big rainbow, just huge arc to it. And Deshaun Jackson was so far out in front of it. And it was Grimes, I think it was, that he was going against.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But it was the defender turned around and caught the ball and intercepted it.
Yeah, easily.
Okay? Easily.
He was like waiting on it.
And it occurred to me at that point, is it possible that having everybody right now who's going to listen to this is going to be like, no! So go ahead, it's fine. Go ahead, shoot me an email, thepewtercast@gmail.com. Tell me how stupid I am for saying this.
I've already sent mine.
Is it possible that having a guy with the speed of Deshaun Jackson could be a liability? Because and what I'm saying by that is that he gets so far out in front of Jameis, if Jameis underthrows it, there's no way that even with his speed, he can turn around and come back and save that ball.
Right.
Now, granted, Jameis shouldn't have made that throw in a real game situation anyway. Yeah. And the other side of that is listen, if that's the biggest worry you've got as a head coach, I'll take that problem all day long.
Yeah. You're getting too much separation.
Right. Like, no, Jameis needs to fling the freaking ball harder. Don't we keep hearing that, right? You can't underthrow Deshaun, or you can't overthrow Deshaun Jackson.
Right.
Just
so
let
far
him go.
It's been true.
And so far it's been true, but you sure as hell can underthrow him. And it was one of those, like, I'm just sitting there. It was amusing that kind of ran through my head. Is it possible? And we were actually, it was a really cool day. So Roy Cummings came and sat down next to us.
Yeah.
Old Tampa Tribune. He's now with FanRag.
He also has his own footballinsiders.com that he started.
Yeah.
And then he does sort of a video blog with someone there.
Yeah, Neighbors Media. I really like.
Is it the Pewter
video.
Crew?
The Pewter Crew, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we should get that right.
Yeah, it's you guys go check that out. I really
just
like
follow
what
on
they're
Twitter,
doing.
you'll find it.
Yeah, I really like what they're doing. with that over there. It's a well-produced video.
Yeah,
It's
you're
usually
very
about 3,
impressed
4,
by
5.
the graphics.
I really am. It's well done. Does it give you a difference in content than what other people are giving you? I don't know. We'll have to check it out a little bit more. But I like the production quality of what they're doing.
Yes.
And it feels like a complete wrap-up of what we saw. But anyway.
Yeah, they're pros.
But Ren, you and I, we got to sit and talk to Roy for like 30, 45 minutes.
Longer.
Yeah, I mean, it
Longer.
was a really long time. And just got to pick his brain, and we had lots of fun conversations.
And he
with
was
him.
not shy about asking her questions. And
No.
can I ask something? He's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And then he
Yeah.
would give a very long, thought out answer.
Right.
It wasn't, he was very much accessible and almost to the point where you could see he was really enjoying talking,
exactly.
Buccaneers football with a couple of guys.
Exactly.
couple
So,
of
Roy,
fans.
when you're listening back to this, because you now became aware of us, thank you so much for your time. We really
For
definitely
sure.
appreciate that. But I kind of floated that idea, like, is it possible that Deshaun Jackson, that this could be a liability? And he completely blew me.
Yeah, he shut that down quick. He was like, not as, but he did it sort of like as a professional. It was like, I haven't really seen that so far.
Right.
Yeah. As a no, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That is the dumbest thing. And I get it. I know that it's a stupid question, but to me, the idea still exists that Deshaun could get so far out in front of the ball, and if Jameis underthrows it, there's no way Deshaun's getting back.
That's true, but that's not
prevent
Deshaun's
an
fault. That's
interception.
Jameis's fault.
I understand that,
You know.
and I will take that problem 9 ways on Sunday.
Okay.
I mean, we'll do it, but
Let's put this topic to bed forever.
yeah, let's do it.
It's just forever.
Okay.
Yeah, further
Fair
no,
enough.
finish, wrap it up.
No,
but I mean,
it
let's
was
not bring
just-
this
it was-
up like
here. And here's why we should do that.
halfway through
'Cause
the
it was a
season.
thought that fleeted through my mind.
it was worth talking about.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's all right. Remember, that's sent the hate mail to Brent Allen at the Pewtercast. No, the Pewtercast. gmail.com.
That email doesn't exist. It's just the pewtercast@gmail.com.
There we
Go
go.
ahead. Somebody write me. Tell me how dumb I am. It's okay. Or tell me you think that I'm actually genius and you're worried about that now too. Go for it.
Which that one will not be read on the air. Will Cox had another big day. He had
Yeah.
an interception, had a pass
Yeah.
breakup. Javian Elliott.
Wilcox had a big day.
He's
Every time we looked up and something happened, Wilcox was the safety.
Yep.
When it involved a safety, it was always Wilcox. To me.
No, Tandy had some plays.
That's true.
Yeah, Tandy
That's
and
true.
Wilcox
Tandy
were
and
the two
Wilcox were the two that stood
that
out.
showed up today.
Yeah.
Yeah, not so much Conti. He had his big day yesterday with his pick six.
And not the other guy,
Evans.
Yeah, I didn't see much
haven't
out of
seen
Justin
Evans all training camp. Not
Yeah.
once again.
I saw
not-
him at the end signing autographs, and he looked really sweaty. So he had to have been doing something.
And once again, not to say that Evans is doing a bad job. It's something sort of Cutter brought up that he said that that the ball is finding Wilcox a lot.
Yeah.
So Evans can be doing his job all the time. The ball's just not being thrown during his at his direction.
Right.
So So and once again, Javian Elliott got an INT today. The slot corner, the
Yeah.
starting slot corner. So he looked good. And then for a Tandy little update, Chris Godwin sort of caught this 7-yard in, and Jameis squeezed it in the window, and he caught it, and Tandy could have just blown him up. Before Godwin's feet even hit the ground, Tandy sort of just gave him a mild shoulder.
Right.
But if that was game time, I mean, he would have been looking out his ear hole. So that's sort of the Tandy update. The guy, but it was a tough catch. He might have held on to it, but that's sort of the difference between tackling to the ground and going against your own team, and then going against somebody in preseason or Sunday.
Hey, Tandy's looking like a starting caliber safety in the NFL.
I would agree with that, and I was very much worried about the safeties. It was a big question mark for me going into training camp. I've commented on that a few
Now that's
times.
training camp, and I want to reiterate. We said this on yesterday's show.
Talking about how
I
Deshaun
heard-
Jackson's too fast.
No.
Okay.
I heard this a couple times in the stands today.
What's that?
And I want to repeat it here. All these guys can look one way in training camp.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the time to make evaluations. These are just things that we're noticing.
Right.
This is not evaluation time. Evaluation time is going to come next Friday.
This isn't the final report card.
Exactly. Evaluation time comes Friday, and then it comes the Thursday after that, and then it comes the Friday after that,
Yeah.
and then it comes the Thursday after that. You know what that is? That's our preseason game schedule. When we get into the preseason games, that's when we need to be making evaluation. It's just this is what they looked like right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're only giving
In
you,
practice.
we're giving you what we can.
exactly.
So that pretty much
Because we don't have anything else.
we don't have anything else. Yeah. You sit in the stands for an hour and 45 minutes. That's what we got for you.
Right.
So that switches us over to the offense. They did some red zone drills today, which was nice.
Yeah.
They started them inside the 20.
It's the fun stuff to watch.
It was. It really was. It was fun stuff. The first team went out there, and in 2 plays, boom, boom, Winston had him in the end zone. He had a rollout pass, and he found Hump. And Hump sort of got some extra yards, got out of bounds, and then the next play he found Daxt, which a lot of people thought he wouldn't be in the red zone package because he might get washed out because he's so small. But he found him in the back of the end zone, leaped up, made a nice...
It was good play. It was a fun play to watch.
Yeah.
And he got a big Daxt chant out of the crowd out of that one.
Yeah, he did.
And what I thought was funny was they were going Daxt, but the way it came out was it sounded like they were saying... Jax D.
Oh, because of the cadence?
Yeah, like the way the cadence worked out. Moving on.
And then Griffin got out there, and he threw a pass to Sims, and he got some nice yardage. Then there was a run up the middle.
Yeah.
It did okay. You remember, it's red zone, so he got like 3 or 4 yards.
Yeah.
And then he found Date Dye in the end zone where it looked like a touchdown, but he sort of lost it on his way down, and he came up with a limp. And he limped around for a little bit. He ended up being okay. He didn't even come out, but you could definitely say that he hurt his ankle. And then he overthrew Godwin in the corner to sort of finish that off. So that was like the 4 downs. So I guess it really wasn't red zone. It was sort of like inside the 20. And but it was more like there wasn't like 3rd down, we're going to kick a field goal. It was like we need to score a touchdown to win the game. Drill is what it was. And then once again, they bring Fitzpatrick out, who was the 3rd-string quarterback again today, and he ran like 2 plays and they blew the horn. Yeah, like he didn't get to finish his.
Okay, so let's talk about Fitzpatrick because we talked about him a little bit yesterday. I floated and I kind of said the idea yesterday that Fitzpatrick doesn't look like he wants it.
Right,
and I would say that it looks the same way today. Although I thought he looked better today than he did yesterday from what we saw.
That's fair.
However. Ryan Griffin, he's out there. He's snappy. He's doing what he has to do. He's impressing. And this I think kind of went back to another one of those times where we said, hey, this is not evaluation time. Evaluation time is going to happen in the games. So, I'm still wanting to reserve judgment of this whole Fitzpatrick Griffin thing until we see what happens in the games between the two guys with what they're going to be able to do. The other thing, too, and I don't know if it was Roy who pointed this out or the guys from Joe Buck's fan, I don't remember, but said, hey, listen, they've got tape on Fitzpatrick. They know what he can do in a game. And they may have told him when he came in, hey, listen, take it easy in camp.
Right.
Like
at least the first half of camp.
Yeah, exactly. So he may be looking like he doesn't want it, quote unquote, although he may be doing it with permission. He may not be. I don't know. The point is we don't know.
Right.
But it was pointed out that for a guy like Fitzpatrick, it's hard to assign motives.
Yes.
Right? It's hard for us to look at him and say, you don't want it.
Yeah.
Because the other side
Where's your sense of urgency?
Yeah, like, you don't get in the NFL if you don't want it, right?
Correct.
Like, so I want to be fair in what we're saying, but I still have to say, according to my observations, based on what I saw and my own personal experience being on the football field 20 years ago, there's a difference you can tell a difference between somebody who wants it and somebody who doesn't. And it looks like Griffin wants it more than Fitzpatrick.
Yes. If the motive, if you'll let me say, if these guys were battling it out for a job, like Dirk Cutter said, okay, job's up for grabs. Whoever looks best wins. Griffin is killing Fitzpatrick.
Right. Yeah.
But it's a grown up world, and it might have been just like, look, you're going to get the job, Fitzpatrick. We want you to learn the playbook and don't worry so much about practice right now. Yeah. So there's, like you said, there's a lot of, you don't want to assign motives, there's a lot of things going on, but
yeah. And hey, I even talking about that, talking about knowing the playbook. Something that I noticed today that Griffin was doing that Fitzpatrick was not, was Griffin was directing his players and where to go. They would, they'd call the play, they'd go line up.
He made a lot of audibles at the line today.
He did. And he would tell people, hey, don't stand there, go stand over there. Hey, go out a little bit further. No, come in. Like he was doing that. Fitzpatrick wasn't doing that. His guys just kind of lined up wherever they lined up, and he ran a play.
Or maybe they lined up correctly.
And maybe exactly.
We don't know.
We don't know. But I will say that is something I did see Griffin doing that Fitzpatrick didn't.
Yeah. Some of the plays that stuck out today, they did another jet sweep or reverse, if you will, with Jackson. He got some good yards on that. Barber had a nice hole on the inside. between Marpet and Pamphil. That broke open. Bobo Wilson showed up today.
I was going to say, all of our running backs look good today.
Yeah.
I said yesterday that none of the running backs really showed up a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody flashed, especially Doug Martin for as good as he's looking.
Right.
Let me tell you what, Doug, all of these guys looked really good today. There is a huge difference between Doug Martin and the rest of the guys, though.
But something interesting, when they did that goal line drill, Quiz was in and not Doug Martin, which this is the first time I've seen them run a
Quiz
one.
was running with the one.
Yeah, a one. That's the first time was
absolutely
today.
And you know what else was really interesting is we've been hearing reports that especially through those first 3 games while Doug is serving a suspension, that the Bucs may turn to more of a running back by committee approach.
Right.
There was none of that. It was Jacquizz Rodgers. He was the featured back. He hit all 3 downs.
Right.
He was a 3-down back for that series.
Mm-hmm.
Again, does that mean that they're going to do a feature back versus a committee type deal? Not necessarily. That's just what they did today.
Correct.
And it seems to me if you're talking about doing running back by committee that you're going to rotate those guys through. That's not what happened. It was really Jacquizz Rodgers that picked up those 3 downs. And Doug got his 3. Peyton Barber actually wound up getting his 3 with his run. But they all looked good.
Yeah.
I am okay going into the first 3 games without a guy like Doug Martin. And I'll be super glad to have Doug Martin back in week 4. And I am not of the mindset that the team is going to cut Doug Martin. I'm just not. I know there's lots of people out there who are. I'm not. So.
And I've said on the show many times I'm not. I've got something for you, something I haven't really written down and talked about. From the 2 days that you've seen, has Charles Sims looked like a better in-between tackle runner? Or haven't really had a chance to notice?
The only time I noticed Charles Sims was when he turned around and threw a ball yesterday at Lou Fowl.
Right. When he was hazing Blue Cow.
Exactly. That is literally the only time I've noticed him. So.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Bobo Wilson showed up today. He had some nice catches.
He had some big plays,
how Walker showed up yesterday. Bobo sort of was the Walker of today, I guess you could say. And I thought they fed the ball a lot to Huff.
They did.
They did one of those jet sweeps with him, and he got some good yardage.
Yep.
They were really trying to feature what Huff could do.
I feel
offensively.
like they're trying to give Huff a chance.
Yes.
They really feel like they're trying to give Huff a chance. And I will say the big play that I saw out of him that sticks in my mind was a red zone play. And he's in the red zone. I think it was Griffin, who was the quarterback at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fires the ball in there. Huff has to make a jumping catch. And he jumps up and he catches it right in the breadbasket.
Yeah.
But before he lands, he winds up dropping the ball.
Yeah,
and it wasn't because of a hit. Mm-mm. It was he caught the ball. He had it under control, and then he dropped it on his way down.
Yeah,
and I don't know why. I don't know what happened. But Josh Huff dropped the ball
again.
But it does seem like they're really trying to give him a chance.
Yeah, they're giving him the rope, and he's either going to hang himself or he's going to shine.
Yeah.
And that seemed what happened today.
And we'll see what happens when we get to the preseason game.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
This was interesting. I saw Cameron Brate, Quiz, Evans, Godwin, and Hump on one of those red zone things. So at one time they actually sat Jackson, and Godwin, since he's a little bigger than Jackson, was playing an outside receiver spot on there. Let's see, I've got something about... I saw this play. It was like during one of those when they kept doing... When they lined up, we were doing sort of just run plays and spotting the ball, run play, spotting the ball. When you said the running backs look good, Howard pancaked Robert Ayers.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. I was like, it wasn't a total clean pancake where they're by themselves, but he was driving him back, and all 3 people. There was another, I think it was a linebacker was coming over. They sort of got tangled up, but it ended up Robert Ayers on his back and Howard on top of him. So I was kind of like, ooh, geez. So the blocking for Howard, at least in line when he's close, he's up against the tackle, seems to be going really well. Stocker had a good steal on the end that popped Quiz for a nice run. And then, on the goal line as well, remember how yesterday I said the 2 tight end sent was Brate and Stocker, and Howard's not there yet? I actually saw near the goal line, I saw Stocker and Howard, no Brate, because we've talked about how Cameron Brate, even though he's working very hard in his blocking, I would put definitely his blocking skills behind both of those guys.
Sure.
So,
and that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. And so that was pretty much for the offense. Was there anything else that you saw that you know? No? All right, then we'll move on to the special teams. Once again, Alan Cross, after practice, was taking some snaps or doing some long snapping.
Yep.
And they live punted for the first time. A lot of times they'd fake it and were putting it through the jug machines to the returners. But Unger actually got some work on field one with some gunners going down and no hitting once again. It would be called really press to call it live reps. But it was the first time the fielders were actually the punt returners were actually taking an actual punt from Unger. And then to wrap that up,
he broke my heart today, though.
Anger
did. He broke my heart today.
Which part? I thought you were trying. Are you talking about at the end?
Yeah.
I thought you were trying to get an autograph for him.
Anger tries to come
him.
up. No, it's not because he didn't give me an autograph. Actually, I didn't ask for an autograph from any of these guys. I should do that the next time I'm in camp. Yeah. But Anger was kind of going down the line.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. This was kind of a little bit of the fanboy in me.
Right.
But I went up there, and he was kind of going, and I gave him like a high five. And I wanted to say, hey, Special Teams Player of the Year. Yeah, because he was Pewtercast's first annual Special Teams Player of the Year award.
And well-deserved.
Yeah.
By forfeit.
So I just kind of threw that out there, and he just looked at me. He's like, all right, cool, and like walked away. And I was like, dang it.
He doesn't think I'm cool.
Did you not get the trophy? Did you not get the letter that we sent you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You should have extended a little more. You should get your mini Lombardi.
You can't do that.
Why not?
Do you know what? You see what it's like down there at the I mean, everybody's like crushing around
He
you.
heard you say Special Teams Player of the Year.
Honestly, here's what I'm going to choose to believe. He didn't actually understand what I said.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, it's just
You were
somebody,
just the
somebody
loudest.
yelled at him, and he just went, hey, yeah, that's cool. Like, I'm going to choose to believe that that's what it was.
You should have told the story that way then. The first time.
Maybe.
Maybe not. I don't know. It looks like Brent's looking at me like I hurt his heart a little bit there myself. But we haven't talked a lot.
Let's go back to doing these podcasts over Skype.
With the delay, it's much more free flowing when we're face to face. We haven't talked about Jerry McWeapon a lot today.
Yeah.
But when they were doing the live punting, he was sort of the up back. The guy that lines up sort of off center from the long snapper as the last line of defense. So that was good to see. If anybody's sort of worried about where he is on the depth chart, if he's going to make the team, those guys have to, get a spot on special teams, and that's a very important spot on the special team. So it was cool to see him there. So after practice, it's pretty much going to be more stick carrier talk. Steve Idbets from Real Bucks Fan actually, after Cutter's presser, grabbed him and brought him over to the area where the stick carriers were.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, Idbets grabbed him.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is like Cutter's second time over by the fence.
Did it before
with
practice,
everybody.
and this time he brought a marker over.
Okay.
Yeah, to go ahead and
Cool.
sign. Idbets brought over there, and he probably spent a good solid 10 minutes over there.
I don't know if it was that long.
Good solid 8 minutes.
Maybe 5.
Good solid 5 minutes. Is this going to be like the 25 people down by?
Maybe 4.
And maybe it ended up being 4. Yeah. Well, anyway, Isbits went down there and grabbed it, and it didn't look like Cutter was begrudging it at all.
No. No, you know what this looked like? It looked like to me a person who may not like necessarily being the center of attention, being forced into a spot where they were the center of attention. It's kind of what it like. Just
At the worst.
But he loved it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was he wasn't super comfortable in it, but he loved it all at the same time. And he came over and he was real gracious. He was kind of high-fiving people a little bit. And that's when they gave him the canvas print of the Godfather thing, and he accepted. He received it real graciously. He was kind of laughing at it a little bit, and I couldn't tell like if he was going to sign it and hand it back, or that might have been actually like what he originally thought they were trying to do was get him to sign it. But I think they said no, that's actually for you to keep, and so he kind of handed it off to one of his assistants, and
one of his body men,
right? And then Cutter quiets the crowd.
Yeah. I'm glad you're getting to this.
Keep in mind, the players are all up and down the fence line signing, and like Mike Evans is there, and so like some of the big name players, lots of players came to sign today. Not like yesterday. Like several players came, but like lots of the big name
McCoy
players.
went in the stands. Donovan Smith went in the stand.
Smith was there, right? I geeked out over Donovan Smith, but I'm an old lineman. But anyway, So there, and we described yesterday, like people are clamoring and Mike, sign this, Mike, sign the Deshaun, sign this, and here's Cutter over there trying to get everybody to quiet down,
Right.
But you still hear people like not paying attention to that, like Mike, like shut up, we want to hear what he's having to say. And I didn't quite catch all of what Cutter had to say.
I can finish that up.
I'm sure somebody got it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what he had to say, but when he quieted down, he basically went, "Speak softly," and then he pointed to the stick carriers, and they all were like, "Carry the big motherfucking stick."
Yeah.
And then he
Except
walked
they
away.
didn't cuss.
No, they
Just
didn't.
carry a big stick.
Thank you. Yeah.
In that, the Buccaneer staff cameras were right behind them. The Hard Knocks cameras were right there.
Casey did her buck beat in front of him.
Yeah, Casey did a buck beat. So I've got to believe that basically what Cutter did, he quieted everybody down, and he said, guys, we're going to do this for HBO. Like, I think that might be what he said. I'm going to give it to you. Speak softly.
I never heard him say. I never heard him say. MF all day. To be honest. Not
No,
that
they
I
didn't,
can
because
remember.
remember Justin said no
Yeah.
cussing.
Yeah.
That was one of the
Okay.
rules. No cussing.
Yep.
You don't do that.
Yeah.
If you want to cuss, go to the Bucks Uncensored podcast and go there.
Right.
We're PG-13 on this show, so we get one F-bomb a show, right?
About.
So, yeah, and we really limit that. When you're in the stands, there's tons of kids around, we're going to keep it family, Maybe edgy PG. But that was cool. It was really cool. Like, he did that. Jameis, actually, he eventually came over, and big, long line of people wanting autographs.
Oh, yeah.
Jameis went all the way down to the corner.
Yeah.
And he was coming down the whole line
He
until
went
he
probably a
unfortunately got
good.
pulled
Yeah.
away.
He probably
got
went
back
a
to
good
the 50-yard line.
He went about good 40 yards.
Yeah.
Down that line. Sort of the last little section before we put a bow on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier, we were talking to Roy Cummings a lot, and he was extremely gracious to field our questions.
Yep.
And I asked him, I said, well, do you find it a little, what's this take that you have? Because I sort of couldn't figure it out.
Uh-huh.
We sign, or I should say draft Kendall Beckwith, and everyone's assuming he's going to compete for the starting Sam linebacker
Right, that
position.
Devontae Bond role.
With Devontae Bond.
Right.
And almost immediately, once he sort of figures out, gets his stops baby walking, sort of like how Dirk Cutter said, once he's sort of figured it out and is starting to come alive, I believe was a quote, they have switchly moved him to Mike linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
So he's basically backing up Quan,
Right.
and he might be backing up Levante Davis, so he might be doing a Mike and Will exchange.
Right.
So I asked him, I'm like, so, Roy, what do you make of that? Because I really couldn't figure it out in my head, and he said something that was really profound.
Because we seem set at Mike and
yeah,
Will
why
linebacker, right?
why are you taking a third-round draft pick that you drafted up to back up one of the two best, of one of
two of the best players on our team.
and linebackers in the league?
Right.
Like why are we wasting